Hello folks, this is Sullla once again. Welcome to another patch review. We're going to be looking at patch 3.12. I'm sorry that there hasn't been anything up on the channel in the last week. It's been a busy time and I have not been playing League hardly at all, so that may change in the future. I don't know, we'll see. But that's why there hasn't been much going on. I've been really busy with a whole bunch of stuff. You'd be surprised how many forms you have to fill out in order to get an advanced graduate degree, but I've been dealing with a lot of paperwork. In any case, you guys don't want to hear about that. You want to hear about patch 3.12. This has just come out about a day ago as of this recording. We're going to go through and look at some of the stuff that's in this patch. Hopefully this won't last too long, but I guess we'll see. One note here, it says, due to some of the changes made in this patch, using third-party applications has a higher risk of crashing your game. Try updating or uninstalling any applications you use alongside League. I ran into this just last night. I was trying to use Sullla Replay, the unofficial recording client that creates replays, and it was not playing nice with this new patch, so looks like that's the note right there. Still waiting on that official replay mode, hopefully in Season 4. Hopefully, we'll see. Soon, TM, soon, we'll see, but looks like, once again, a new patch has come out, and Sullla Replay has issues yet again. Let's go through, look at some of these things. General, they have updated the site boards in the visual department so that they look a little bit different. You can also now purchase, they have 3 different types of words you can purchase. There's one that looks like Draven's face, and I think that there's like a Lux themed ward as well. That's not new, but the new ward skins are permanent, as opposed to the past where you could only buy them for like a week. So if you want to buy the new ward skins, you can, but they do cost Riot points. They're not free. All the normal ones have gotten a visual update. They look okay. I don't think they look any better or worse. It's just different. They've also changed the ranged minion attack particles right there, the ranged minion attacks. It looks different. Again, I'm not sure it's necessarily better or worse. It's just different. They used to be sort of this wispy little round ball. Now they're like a little missile that goes back and forth. Riot's text here suggests that they think it's better. I'm not really convinced it is better. It just looks a little bit different. So for people who've been playing for a while, it's going to take a little while to get used to what it looks like, but it's just a graphical effect. There's no actual gameplay change. All right, skill shot missiles sometimes don't register on the receiving player's screen until they've landed. Hopefully they're fixing that. So in other words, skill shots fired from Fog of War should appear on the screen sooner. Just another visual thing. There's always been some buggy stuff involving brush, and it looks like that's one of them. Let's go ahead and look at the champion changes. This is the Jinx patch, patch 3.12, but probably just referred to as the Jinx patch. Jinx is not officially out yet, but will be out soon. So let's go ahead and look at Jinx's stats here. I'm going to pull up League of Legends Wiki where they have all this stuff from the PBE, the public beta environment. So a quick overlook at Jinx. Jinx is an AD carry, or a marksman, as Riot continues to try to push this. I don't think it's going to catch on. They needed to do this a lot sooner than 2013. But in any case, ranged AD is the role. Very unusual. We don't get very many ranged ADs, and yet the last 2 champions have both been ranged ADs, AD carries, Lucian and then Jinx. That's a bit unusual. Alright, Jinx's overall playstyle is Jinx is a very high risk, high reward champion. She has no escapes. In return, she gets very high damaging abilities. I actually think she's going to be very, very strong when she comes out. I don't know. I haven't seen her played very much, just some games that people played on the PBE, the beta server. But she looks like she's going to be very, very strong from what I can see. So let's just run through these quickly. Get excited, the Jinx passive. Anytime a champion or a tower that Jinx is dealt damage with is killed or destroyed, she gains 175% movement speed that decays over 4 seconds. This is a really good passive. This is a very, very strong passive. Basically, anytime Jinx gets a kill or an assist, she gets a massive movement speed boost that then decays over 4 seconds. 175% move speed. That's enormous. The clips I've seen, when she gets a kill or an assist, all of a sudden it's like she has Ghost running, but it's actually worse than that because Ghost doesn't give you 175%. Ghost is only like, I don't know what the number is, but it's not nearly that high. Ghost is only like it's something like I don't know, I don't want to guess, but it feels like Ghost is only like 100% movement speed, something like that. So anyway, she moves really, really fast after she gets a kill or an assist. So maybe in our, normal person game, average person playing, this isn't a big deal, but just imagine at the competitive level, one of the ranged AD players gets a kill or an assist. All of a sudden, it's like they suddenly get a Rammus Powerball level of speed that they can use to kite around. Remember, ranged AD, the one that's probably the role that's most dependent in the game on positioning. So I can just imagine seeing this in competitive play, that they get that movement speed boost and then they just scamper all over the place, can kite like crazy. So I think it's an amazing passive and may very well need to be toned down. We'll see. Have it be shorter, or we'll see, but feels strong. All right, Jinx's best skill is her Q. Switcheroo right here. This is her best skill, and I don't know if people are going to max this first, but I have a feeling they will. This skill, just on reading it, and from what little I've seen, it feels like it's very overpowered. It's just my initial impression. Now, could be totally wrong. It has not been out yet, but that's my initial impression. So let's look at what it does. This is a skill that is on toggle. You can swap back and forth between two things, much like the Aatrox skill that's a toggle on-off between the one that heals him and the one that deals more damage. So first one is the minigun. What this does is her basic attacks grant bonus attack speed for 2.5 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. You can see what each attack is. It stacks up to 3 times. Here it is, stacked up 3 times. So at level 1, 50% attack speed boost. At rank 5, at level 9, 130% attack speed boost. That's pretty good. Pretty impressive right there. Now, it's not that hard to keep this stacked up either. It lasts for 2.5 seconds, and it's only 3 stacks. So it's pretty easy to keep this stacked up if you're just auto-attacking. So, again, keep in mind, at rank 5, 130% attack speed, which you can keep pretty much indefinitely if you're laning, if there's minions in lane, or if you're in a team fight. It's pretty easy to keep this up. So, the minigun gives you enormous attack speed. Remember, the best thing I can compare it to is Tristana's Q, Tristana's Rapid Fire. That is a 90% attack speed boost at rank 5. This is 130%. So this is 40% more than that. Pretty crazy. Remember, Phantom Dancer's only, 55%? So this is like having 2.5 Phantom Dancers, basically for free. It's pretty ridiculous, and it's not that hard to keep this stacked up. Alright, now the trade-off for that is Jinx's default range is very short. She only has 525 range. However, if she toggles her Q and switches over to the rocket launcher, she gains bonus range. So starts at 75, scaling up to 175 at rank 5. So that's at level 9 if you're skilling this first, which you probably will be. At rank 5, add those together, she's 700 range. That's a lot of range. Caitlyn has the longest default auto attack range. Kate is 650 in this game, so it's another 50 extra range beyond what Caitlyn has, for those who are curious. That's pretty crazy, pretty high. Now, granted, there is a cost. You do have to pay 20 mana per attack, and in the early game, this will go down very rapidly. So you can't just use this for laning all the time. What you can do, though, is you can have her on the minigun, which is sort of like her default one, get it stacked 3 times, then swap to the rocket launcher, and you still keep that attack speed for 2.5 seconds. See right here it says, switching to rocket launcher will not clear active stacks, but they won't grant attack speed after the first one. So you can swap over to the rocket launcher and, take advantage of that attack speed for 2.5 seconds. Also, your attacks deal 10% bonus attack damage at the cost of mana per attack. Also, her attacks also splash, deal full damage to enemies within 150 unit radius. So what you've got here is a champion who, if you try to all in her and go up close, she gets insane attack speed. If you try to poke her down from a distance, she has the longest auto attack range in the game, outside of a Twitch ultimate, but I'm not sure that counts. And she deals bonus AD. And she can swap back and forth at no mana cost. The only cost is a 1-second cooldown. As far as I'm concerned, this skill is brokenly overpowered. It seems like hilariously strong. And again, unless I'm totally missing something, it just gives her the best of both worlds. She has Caitlyn's range, and she has Tristana's auto attack speed, and you can swap back and forth as much as you want. So, I mean, maybe I'm missing something here, but this just feels crazily strong. And it just feels like high skill players will be able to abuse this like crazy. So I mean, we'll find out later this week when she's released, but this just feels crazily good. This skill alone is enough to make her a great champion, and the rest of her kit's really good too. I mentioned the passive. Her other skills are also really good. So let's look at them, shall we? W, her this is like her long range poke skill. It's called Zap. Great range, 1500. That's really, really long range. Way longer than most other ADs have. This is basically the range of a Kate ult at level 6, a Caitlyn ult at level 6. But anyway, let's look at this. Relatively low cooldown, 10 seconds, scaling down to 6. Very reasonable mana cost, 45, scaling up to 65 mana. After a short delay, Jinx fires a shock blast, deals physical damage to the first enemy hit, also grants true sight, and slows for 2 seconds. Now, the actual damage on this skill is fairly low. It doesn't deal that much damage, only 210 at max rank, only 30 at first rank. But it does scale off of AD, plus 140% AD, so it scales quite well. That's a very good ratio. The other thing is, it grants sight on whatever it hits, and it slows for 2 seconds. And by the way, the slow at rank 5 is quite high. 70% slow is pretty darn good. Now remember, ADs traditionally don't have much in the way of crowd control because, you know, they're auto attackers. If you gave them crowd control, they'd just be overpowered. So, granted, the weakness of this is it only deals damage to the first enemy hit. It won't go through minions. So you know, and it is a skill shot. It's not point and click. But again, great range, low cooldown, very reasonable mana cost, great AD ratio, and it grants sight and slows. I mean, there's a lot on this skill. So just looking at this from first grasp, Q max first, W max second, 1 point knee is all you need there. And of course, skill your ultimate when it's available. Seems pretty straightforward. Her E is really good for a 1 point skill. It's on a long cooldown, reasonable mana cost. Let's look at what it does. Jinx tosses out 3 chompers. Once armed, explode on contact with enemy champs. They deal magic damage. Champion that sets off the chomper is also rooted for the same duration. So these are 3 little traps, basically like Caitlyn traps. You toss them down on the ground. When champions walk over them, they get rooted for 1.5 seconds. Now, they don't arm immediately. There is a short delay before they arm, so you can't just toss it on top of someone. But what you can do is you can slow them with Zap, toss this out in front of them, and force them either to run around it or to step on it. And it works pretty well. So, again, 1.5 second root, pretty darn good. Again, like I said about Jinx, high skill cap. None of her, all of her stuff is skill-based. But you combo this stuff together, you know, you're attacking away with the minigun, you slow them with Zap, and you toss down the chompers and they either get rooted or they have to run around it. All the while you're auto-attacking. They try to get away. You know, you fire your ult. It's a really strong combo. And she's really good at tower diving too because that passive, if you get that kill, you can run out of a tower in lickety-split. So anyway, then finally her ult. Her ult is global. Yeah, it's global. On a short cooldown, 60 seconds at max rank. That is way too low. But we'll see. Sure feels way too low. Jinx fires a rocket, gains damage over the first second it travels, explodes on the first enemy champion hit, deals physical percentage plus a percentage of the target's missing health, and it's AoE, so nearby enemies take 80% damage. So the damage is quite high. Minimum damage, maximum damage. Note that at rank 3, max damage is 500, plus 100% bonus AD, plus 35% of enemies missing health. I mean, wow. And it's global, and it's on a 60-second cooldown. Now, the one trade-off is, unlike in Ezreal ult, this doesn't hit minions, so you can't use it to farm creep waves in other lanes. You can't use it to check Baron. But it is still global. And it's on a really short cooldown. It deals a ton of damage. It's AoE, area of effect, and it deals a percentage of missing health. That's pretty good. Pretty darn good. So all four of these skills and the passive are all very, very good. Very, very good. So, I mean, I just see late game Jinx having 130% attack speed on the minigun, swapping to her Q to poke down towers at 700 range, having this W that has 1500 range and slows, having a root effect on another skill, having a global ultimate that deals really high damage and is on an extremely short cooldown. And then the passive, that if she gets a kill or assist, she can run all over the place like a demon. So maybe I'm missing something here, but this champion looks wildly overpowered to me. It feels like as soon as people get a chance to play her and get a feel for her skill set, that she's going to be, you know, that we're going to be talking about release Jinx in the same way we talk about release Graves and release Vayne and some of these other ADs. The one person I feel really bad for is poor Lucian, because why would anyone play Lucian when they could just play Jinx instead? They're both high mobility ADs, but Jinx is just better in every way. Like, I'm sorry, Lucian, you know, you've got a great character design model, but Jinx is way better. I don't know what else to say. So we'll see what happens, but my feeling is buy this champion, learn this champion, and just abuse her before she gets nerfed, because I would be stunned if she doesn't get many nerfs in the next month or two. Like, I would be shocked if she doesn't get nerfed in upcoming patches. So we'll see. This is a test of how well I can read the game. My reading of her skill set is she's really overpowered and is super duper good. We'll see. Again, the test is competitive play and high elo solo queue, but we shall see. All right, other stuff. That's probably the biggest thing in this patch. Let's look at the rest of the stuff. Cassiopeia, they're reducing her mana cost. Again, this is very common. A lot of older champions have been having their mana cost reduced. So similar thing here. You've seen this with many, many other APs. They just lowering the mana cost to bring them in line with current champion design. So mana cost reduced down to flat 100. No big deal, but good for her. Garen received a visual upgrade. Garen's still pretty terrible, in all honesty. Riot made changes that were supposed to help him in top lane, but they didn't. They made him worse. The Diamond 1 Garen players have said that the changes have made him weaker, that they're not as good. He's pretty trash tier right now, but he does have a visual upgrade, so whatever. All right, Katarina. Katarina got a big buff in this patch, a big buff. And this is one of the things where I'm a little questioning Riot champion design here, because Katarina is one of those champions you got to be real careful with. Remember, high mobility. She gets resets due to the way her passive works. If she gets a kill, then she gets resets on her other abilities, and she's monoless. So anytime that they buff Katarina, they have to be real careful, because she gets overpowered real fast, in the same way that Master Yi became super overpowered when they reworked him. So let's look at what they did. Basically, they gave a huge buff to Death Lotus. They enormously increased the damage. If you check, this is the old damage here, 400. Here's the old damage. 400, 500, 600, ability power ratio of 2, and 3.0 attack damage. Bonus attack damage, not straight AD. Well, they enormously increased the damage at max rank from 600 up to 750. They also increased the scaling from 2.0 ability power ratio to 2.5 and 3.0 bonus attack damage. Remember, that's not total AD, it's bonus AD. But from 3 bonus attack damage to 3.75. So this is a very large increase to the damage. They also reduced the cooldown at max rank from 50 seconds down to 45. And again, remember, with the way that Katarina's cooldowns work is she gets resets, she can reuse her abilities. Now, what they did to counterbalance that was they increased the channel time from 2 seconds to 2.5. So in order to get the full damage, the channel time is now longer. In other words, it's easier to interrupt Katarina. But there's no cast time delay before getting it off. What this means is, overall, yes, you can interrupt. You have a better chance to interrupt her ultimate, but it's still a huge buff. It's more damage. It's a shorter cooldown, and there's no longer a cast delay before channeling. So this is a big buff to Katarina, and I worry that this. I thought that Katarina was in a very good place. I didn't think they needed to change her. This is one of those champions, because she's monolith, because she has her Shumpo, because she gets resets. It's a very fine line of champion balance, and I worry that this is pushing her a little too far in the direction of being too strong. But we shall see. Still, I honestly think that Katarina was 100% fine and didn't need to be touched at all. And I guess somebody likes Katarina in Riot champion design, or they're just stirring the pot for no reason, as they sometimes do, because this makes her a lot more powerful, and you'll probably see her a lot more often again. Okay, Lucian, they gave Lucian a few little quality of life upgrades. They talk about it here. I'm not going to read all that, but they, let's see, increased base mana regen and mana regen per level. I guess it's pretty minor here. This is fairly modest, not really going to change your opinion of Lucian. Late Slinger, they changed how his passive works. If the target dies before his second shot hit, the second shot will now try to find another target. Okay, that's great, but it really doesn't seem like that big of a deal. I guess that helps if he last hits a minion with his passive. He can deal some bonus damage. But again, I really don't think this is going to change your opinion of Lucian all that much. And then finally, his Piercing Light. They reduced the hitbox width and it now leads its targets when cast on an enemy champion. I think that they wanted to set this up so it's easier to hit with his piercing light. I believe that's his Q, but don't quote me on that. It's still pretty modest. Overall, this is not really going to change Lucian much if at all. You could probably play him after these changes and barely even notice much that happened. I think that Lucian's actually in a decent location. He hasn't really gotten played because all the professional players, when he came out, were still on the previous patch because they had to get ready for Worlds and all that. Need to see more time before I get more of an opinion on Lucian. I don't think that he's that bad. I just think that he's overshadowed by other champions. In particular, I think he's going to be wildly overshadowed by Jinx. So, poor Lucian. Hopefully, I don't think he needs drastic changes, but we'll see. Might need to be changed. He needs more time there because he hasn't really been put through the stress test of competitive play yet. Olaf has gotten a complete rework. So I'm not going to read all this text. This is way too much. You can read this in the patch notes if you want. Olaf in Season 2 was one of the strongest champions in the game. Olaf had all sorts of things that made him super strong. He, on his Q, his axe toe, his undertow, he basically had a perma slow. It was a skill shot, but if you could hit it correctly, he could permanently slow people. He had true damage on his E, his reckless swing. He had lifesteal and spell vamp on his vicious strikes, his W. And he had an ultimate that didn't allow him to be crowd controlled and gave him a whole bunch of bonus stats, free armor and free MR. So basically, Olaf would, once he got some farm, he could run into the middle of your team. You could not crowd control him. He'd just run in and assassinate either your AD or your AP, whoever he wanted to kill. And it was almost impossible to actually stop him because, again, he couldn't be crowd controlled. It was like that item in Dota where you can't be CC'd. I can't remember it. It's like BKB or something, BKR or something like that. But anyway, so can't be crowd controlled. What this meant was he was really strong, and Riot didn't know what to do with him, so they gave him the Evelyn treatment, the old Eve treatment, where he just got nerfed into trash tier while they waited on a rework. Tough thing to do, but honestly, it's kind of what they have to. If there's a champion who they just don't know what to do with, nerf them until they're useless, and then wait until they can get redesigned, and that's what they did with Olaf. So here is the long-awaited rework. Does it make him stronger or weaker? I don't know. What it does is it just changes him. Basically, he's just different. I don't know if he's better or worse, but he's different. Alrighty, let's see. They've reduced his base mana, and it's actually pretty big. This is actually a pretty big deal because Olaf definitely has mana problems. So that's actually pretty big nerf right there. Let's look at what else they did. This is his Q, his undertow. This is where he throws the axe. They reduced the damage. Not by much, by 10 at all ranks. Not by much, but they did reduce the damage. They've increased the slow, increased it rather sizably by about 10%, 10 to 15% at all ranks. So the slow is larger. Slow duration is reduced to 1 to 2 seconds instead of 2.5 seconds flat. So this is a very sizable nerf. So instead of being permanently slowed by 2.5 seconds, it's 1 to 2 seconds based on how far the axe went. So that's a nerf. Slow no longer decays. Well, that's a buff. This is something they added. It originally did not decay on the slow, but they put this in when they nerfed Olaf. So now the slow duration doesn't decay. It just lasts for however long this is. Here's the big nerf to undertow. Right here. Minimum distance added, 400. What people used to do with Olaf is they would throw the axe right at the feet of where they were trying to hit. That would allow Olaf to pick up the axe immediately, get a cooldown refresh, then slow them again. So you'd have people tossing out the axe like every 1.5 seconds. It's just hit them with the axe, pick it up, hit them with the axe, pick it up, hit them with the axe, pick it up, over and over again. Because they're just throwing it like 100 units right at the person they were hitting. And this is how he could permanently slow people. So by adding a minimum distance, you can't do that. The axe does have to go a minimum distance of 400 range now. So that makes it much harder to perma-slow enemies. Overall, this is greatly nerfed over what it was prior to Olaf getting nerfed into trash tier. It's a lot weaker than that, but it's better than it was before when he was in trash tier. So I guess Riot's trying to find a happy medium between the two, and hopefully they've done that. I don't know if that's true or not. This is just some basic stuff. Axes stick in walls and structures. Axes make jungle monsters ignore unit collision, blah, blah, blah. All right, his W. This is the one that used to give him a attack speed and what was it? Not attack speed. Gave him a life steal and spell vamp. All right, so they reduced the mana cost. Reduced the mana cost from scaling down to just 30. And by the way, this is good because this is usually his 1-point skill. So this is quite good. Put 1 point in W, leave it there. Now it grants attack speed. I guess it didn't grant attack speed before. Now provides extra healing for all the health that Olaf's missing. They removed the attack damage, removed the spell vamp, kept the lifesteal. So whereas before you got attack damage, spell vamp, and lifesteal, now you get lifesteal and attack speed. Does this make it better or worse? I have no idea. All I know is it makes it different. Probably worse, because attack damage is a difficult skill to build. What Olaf could do in the past was he could build pretty much straight tank and rely on this and his reckless swing for damage. Now he does have to build some kind of damage. So it's probably a nerf, but mostly it's just a change overall. Attack speed and lifesteal. Doesn't provide attack damage. And no spell vamp. By the way, there were some weird things you could do with spell vamp on this skill before that you can't do anymore. All right, Reckless Swing. This is very, very big nerf to Reckless Swing. So let's look at what they did here. This is his true damage spell. This one had a lot of balance problems with it. Cooldown enormously increased. 12 seconds down to 8, from 9 down to 5. That's a huge increase in the cooldown. Big, big nerf. Damage reduced. It used to be 100 scaling up to 340. Actually, it used to be higher than that, but it's been nerfed in the past. Now down to 70 up to 250. That's a lot lower, much, much lower. They've added a ratio to it, 0.4 total attack damage. Well, that's nice, but it's still a lot lower. I used my calculator here earlier and checked this out. You have to have 225 attack damage to get it back to where it was before. So yeah, if you've got 300 AD, then it's a buff, but you're going to be under 225 attack damage most of the time on Olaf. So that's a straight nerf, basically. Health cost unchanged on the ratio. Here is the one buff to it. Health cost is now refunded if it kills the target. So you know what? You can use this to last hit minions if you want, and you won't pay the health cost. But you mostly use this to harass other champions, and so that's going to be pointless if that's the case. Now you can get used to this as jungle Olaf. Use it to last hit jungle monsters like the Ancient Golem, the Elder Lizard. So that's kind of nice. You don't lose the health if you last hit jungle monsters. But overall, this is a pretty big nerf. Pretty big nerf overall compared to where it used to be. And that was probably warranted because this skill was always a huge balance issue, as all true damage skills are. So it's a lot weaker than it used to be. Then finally, Ragnarok, they have changed the cooldown. Now it's a scaling cooldown instead of a flat 100. Remove the mana cost, which is nice. Now provides passive armor and magic resist, 10, 20, 30. Active, reworked. It now no longer grants bonus armor and magic resist, but instead grants attack damage while active. Olaf now turns red while it's active. That's kind of amusing. And the crowd control immunity retained. So a bit of weird stuff here. You no longer get armor and MR. No longer get armor and magic resist, although you do get a permanent passive one. Instead, you get bonus attack damage while this is running. So Vicious Strikes used to grant AD. Now it grants... Now it grants attack speed. This used to grant armor and magic resist. Now it grants attack damage. So, I don't know. Overall, it's hard for me to say. I've never played Olaf. I think I played him one game once. It didn't go well. So, not being an Olaf player, it's hard for me to say. Overall, he's just different. More so than better or worse, it's past me to say. But they've changed all his stuff around. I need to see more people playing him. He looks like he might be a decent jungler from what I've seen. Of course, people have played Jungle Olaf before, but he was more traditional as a top laner. I feel as though he might be better as a jungler after these changes, and now I'm prepared to be proven totally wrong if he goes back to being played top again, but we'll see. In any case, if you liked Olaf before, might be a chance to go ahead, play around with him a bit, see how he feels, and go from there. By the way, they've given Olaf a visual rework as well. He has a new graphic. This is the old graphic, hasn't been updated yet, so it's got a new little character portrait too, for what that's worth. But I can't really speak more than that because I have no experience playing Olaf. Can't really speak to that. All right, other stuff. Ryze got some very minor buffs in this patch. I think Riot realized they over-nerfed Ryze when they nerfed the range on every single one of his skills. So what they did was they gave him more movement speed, up by 5. That's nice, not a big deal. Changed his recommended items, improved his basic attack. Well, that's nice. Cleaner auto attack animation. And they gave his ultimate, gives him a flat 80 movement speed instead of scaling 60, 70, 80. That's nice, but you know what would be even nicer for Ryze? Giving him back the range on his spells. That would be a lot nicer. Anyway, I think that Ryze is still okay overall. I really don't think that he's unplayable or anything like that. If you played Ryze before, you can probably still play him now. These are little buffs to help him. but he did get a fairly sizable nerf back in the past. Anyway, he has been played in Worlds, by the way, in some of these games. He showed up mid in a couple games in Worlds. I think Ozone was playing him with their mid laner. So now they didn't play him with all that much success, but he still seems to be pretty decent overall. He's a very good counter to certain champs. For instance, Ryze does quite well against Ahri. He's kind of known as an Ahri counter. All right, anyway, Shen got a very minor change, so minor you probably wouldn't even notice it if it wasn't in the patch notes. His damage reduction on his taunt, on his Shadow Dash, only applies to basic attacks, not all physical damage. So yeah, the damage reduction from his taunt only on auto attacks, not on all physical damage. This is pretty minor overall, not really going to change that much. Shen has been played non-stop at Worlds with a mixture of success, sometimes successful, sometimes not so. And unless Shen gets nerfed into trash tier, he will always, always, always be played in the competitive scene, just like Twisted Fate. Because of their globals, they're always viable on a team, unless they just get nerfed to total trash. Which has happened to Shen before, by the way. There was a period in 2011 when he got nerfed into complete and utter trash, but got buffed off that. Alright, Thresh got another nerf. They increased the cooldown on his death sentence. That's his Q, that's his hook where he grabs somebody. It is reduced by 3 seconds if death sentence strikes an enemy. Well, whoop-de-doo, that's great, but, you know, the cooldown is still longer. So this is, again, another nerf to Thresh. And they also nerfed his Flay. The wind-up damage now only grows after the attack cooldown completes. So, in other words, it takes longer for you to get the passive damage from Flay on his basic auto attacks. Thresh has been nerfed so many times right now. But again, due to his kit, he's basically always going to be a viable support. Still has some good stuff in that kit. So we've seen him played non-stop at Worlds. The 3 supports played at Worlds have been Thresh, Nami, and Sona. Basically the only 3. We've seen a little of Lulu here and there. Seen some Leona, especially from the European teams. I know Fnatic likes Leona. But it's pretty much been Thresh and Zyra and Sona have been the 3 that we've seen. Pretty much just those 3. I honestly thought we'd see Nami more, but it's barely been played. Just 1 or 2 games. Alright, minor changes. Heimer, they fixed a bug with his cooldown turrets. The Heimer rework is supposed to be coming in soon. Well, should see that soon. TM again. Karthus Requiem warning buff on enemy champions now has a duration that matches the impact delay. I'm not really sure what that means. I guess that means you now get a warning on how long until Requiem's going to hit you. A nice little infographic there. Nidalee fixed a bug with her takedown. Teemo, you now get gold if you kill his Noxus traps with Oracle. They're worth 10 gold. And you now get gold for killing Yorick schools. Okay, little stuff. Big item change. Big change. Guess what? As anyone who watches Worlds knows, Trinity Force and especially Phage got overbuffed by like a lot. And that's why Quirky's been played in like every single game at Worlds, because Phage was way too strong. Way too strong. And everybody else who likes Trinity Force, oh, hello there, Jax. Now all of a sudden you're back on the competitive scene. Anyway, so these items got overbuffed. They're increasing the cost on Phage by 100 gold. That increases the total cost. And they're cutting the movement speed bonus in half for ranged champions. Yes, right? Done gone and screwed up here. So they overbuffed this item like way too much. And they now are nerfing it for ranged champions. Similar thing for Trinity, 100 gold more expensive. And the passive on Trinity Force for the movement speed bonus is halved for ranged champions. So this was very badly needed. Everyone knew these items were extremely overpowered. You saw Ezreal and Quirky, and even on Gambit Gaming, even you saw Genja playing Phage first, Trinity Force Kog'Maw. That's when you know something's out of whack, when Kog'Maw is rushing a Phage because it's just so good that he can use it for kiting and positioning. So anyway, these items were overbuffed, and they're getting nerfed back into a more appropriate state. Alright, other stuff. Summoner's Rift, they have now shown what towers do. By clicking on a tower, you can see some of their abilities. That's kind of nice. From what I found out, a lot of people are very wildly unaware of what towers actually do. So they've added the little Oracle vision particle to towers and have pointed out that, yes, towers actually get extra armor and get bonus armor over time, and their shots deal more damage the longer you stand in them. So anyway, little indicators letting you know what towers actually do, which is really good for people who are still learning, and a lot of people have played this game for a long time without knowing what some of the mechanics actually do as far as towers go. I've seen people who played the game for an entire year and didn't know what the Baron buff actually did. No joke. People are like, oh, well, Baron, it's really good. Well, what does it do? I don't know. It does something. It makes you turn purple. Does something good. All right. Other map changes. Moonflare Spellblade increased the cost, but made it so you could get tenacity on melee as well as ranged. Kale getting a large cooldown increase to our ultimate on Twisted Treeline and also on Dominion makes sense. Kale ult, I can see how it would be really good in those games. Other stuff for Twisted Treeline, let's see, Cassiopeia getting nerfs to our movement speed boost and our AP ratio. Yeah, I can see Cassiopeia being good on that map. Similar thing for Lulu, increase the cooldown on our ult. For Twisted Treeline, for 3v3, yeah, I can see how that would be really good. Tryndamere getting cooldown increases. Again, these maps are more fast-paced, so sometimes the cooldowns are a little out of whack that are based on Summoner's Rift. Similar thing for Wukong, they're reducing his passive, which is very good on Twisted Treeline and Dominion. And the cooldown on his ult. Wukong is actually really good on Dominion, for those who don't know. There's now a Zyra bot available in co-op versus AI. I'll have to go check that out. I haven't seen it. That sounds very irritating, to be honest. Fixed a bug in the tutorial, blah, blah, blah. They have now created new game menus. There's a whole new system in there. Good stuff for windowed mode. I don't suggest playing in windowed mode, but I know some people like to. Some improvements to that. League system. Added notification icons that let you know how many wins you need to claim season rewards if you haven't played enough games on a team. Very nice. Revamped the trade system. New trade messages and some bug fixes. The whole trade system has always been kind of weird because it was something that very obviously was coded into the client like after the client was already designed. So there's always been a lot of bugs associated with it. Looks like they're trying to clean that up. Very nice. Appreciate that. So bug fixes and better messages letting you know what's actually going on. In-game options menu has been completely redone. It's much cleaner. It's a nice interface. Of course, if you're used to the old menu, now you have to figure out where the heck everything is. They reorganized the menu. It's very nice. Mouse scroll wheel goes through. Defaults to a per-screen basis so you don't clear all your settings. They've renamed SmartCast to QuickCast, which is probably a good idea. Faster and easier to rebind the keys. I've seen the new menu. It's quite nice. New options, blah, 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 blah. You can now preview your HUD changes and chat scale without having to save them. That's very nice. Disable camera movement on revive. I should probably go in and set that because that's very irritating when that happens, particularly in spectator mode. More options has been removed, have reorganized into other more appropriate sections. Very nice. New video slider has been added to adjust video and graphical settings. The time required to switch resolutions has been reduced. All good stuff. So I've seen the new menu. It's quite nice. I don't know where everything is yet because it's new, but it's a much cleaner menu. Very, very nice there. And then they've added extra voiceover lines for Spirit Guard Udyr. Okay. All in all, it's a pretty big patch. The biggest changes are the Trinity Force change. The graphical effect of the new minions is probably the thing that jumps out most. Big buff to Katarina. Olaf completely and utterly reworked. Not too much in the way of champions. Olaf rework is the big thing. Kat got a nice buff. And then Jinx, all the Jinx stuff, which I already closed that other window. But yeah, I think Jinx is going to be really strong. Again, the trade-off is Jinx has no escape, other than getting a kill or an assist, which resets her passive. But I just think she's really strong. She combines like the range of Caitlyn or late-game Trist with the attack speed bonus of like Tristana Rapid Fire. And she has like a slow that reveals. She has a root. She has a global ultimate. She's got an amazing passive. I don't know. It just feels like the versatility is really strong. You can, if somebody, as I said before, if somebody goes to all in you at close range, you got 100% attack speed. No, 130% attack speed. If somebody refuses to engage and wants to sit back and poke, well, you got range better than Caitlyn. Granted, you might run out of mana, but you've got it if you want to sit back and engage in a poke war. And I just been thinking of late game when it's all about the tower poking fest. She's got Tristana's like level 18 range for late game, in addition to all that attack speed. So, and a global ult. So I just feel like she's really, really good. And we'll see. Maybe I'll prove to be totally wrong, and we'll see Jinx buffs. But something tells me that's not going to happen. Something tells me it's going to be patch 3.13, toning down Jinx's abilities is what I expect to happen. In any case, though, this has gone on long enough. Once again, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys are still enjoying the channel when I update it to try to keep it better updated, but we'll see. In any case, see you guys later. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Until next time, take care. See you later.